So today I'm going to discuss about scenario is remote login protocols. Like here we have one scenario, R1 and R2. Simply between R1 and R2.
Balu, good morning.
Like how will the connectivity is from R1 to R2 used to connect with local service provider and R2 to also local service provider. Local service provider connected to internet. So finally simply can say R1 and R2 are connected to via internet. Right? Yeah, R1 to internet, R2 to internet with the serial ports, whatever. Means via public network we have connected.
Hello.
Now R1 LAN is connected to fast Ethernet. Say R1 fast Ethernet IP address is 1.1/24. R2 fast Ethernet IP address is 10.1/8. So as for basic routing condition, fundamental condition is what router IP and end user IP should be in same network. So BCA1 have assigned 10.10, 1.10. Now from this computer, can I ping to R1 router?
Yes.
Yes, because of R1 and R2, sorry, R1 LAN port and PC should be in same network, and we have assigned IP address. Now, how R1 and R2 can communicate? So to enable communication between the two sites, we need to configure routing, IP routing. Okay, let me configure IP routing. It can be any protocol, like how configured OSPF. Other side is also OSPF. Now, if we configured OSPF, communication is enabled, right? So communication is enabled means from this PC, we can access any resources, any services to R2 LAN because of protocol is enabled. My simple question is from 1.10, can I log in? I mean, can I telnet to R1 router? Yes, of course we can telnet. How? Like in R1 router should be configured line VTY. Line VTY 024, password CCNA something and login. And here also have configured line VTY and password. So my question is from 1.10, how we can log into R1 from 1.10 PC? You can do telnet 1.1 and it'll ask the username and password and you enter the passwords. Username is Cisco, password CCNA, and you will get R1 user mode. If you type enable command, then we'll get R1 privilege mode. You can execute all show commands here. So this is entire communication is been happening from 1.10 PC to 1.1 router and they are communicating. So transactions have been happen 1.1 to a router, this only. End user to a router LAN port, that's it, right? Okay. But my question is from 1.10 PC, can they log into R2? From 1.10 PC, can I log into R2?
If VTY is enabled in R2, you can log in.
Yeah, VTY is also configured and protocol is enabled. We can log in. So same thing. telnet 10.1 username password. Now we'll get R2 user mode, R2 privilege mode. But transaction has been happening from where to where? The transaction means the communications happen from 1.10 PC to R1, R1 to public network to R2, and R2 giving reply back. Means the communications happen via public network. In public network, someone is being captured. If you open that, so they can come to know a router 2 username is what, router 2 password is what, router 2 show commands, and all the plans, whatever executed the commands is all the commands is being captured. If you open that, it's be plain text, normal text, because of you're using what? Telnet. So Telnet is remote login protocol, but it's not a secure remote login protocol because of Telnet will send entire data in normal text format, plain text format. That's why it is not secured. So remote logins protocol. Telnet is used to remote login network device for configuration. It works on TCP port number 23. Data is sent in clear text between the host and network device. It is not secure communication. Why it is not secure communication? Data is sent in clear text between the host and network device. Between the host and network device, which is router 2. Between these two devices, data is sent in clear text. So means anyone will capture the packet if you they can come to know all the details. Then which is a secure remote login protocol is SSH, secure shell. SSH is a used for securely remote login on network devices for configuration. It works on TCP port number 22. It provides data encryption between host and network device. It provides data encryption between host and network device. Like complete data is what? Encrypted. Data encryption. The main thing is Cisco IOS should support encryption for enabling SSH. Means like a 12.1 iOS version, 12.2, 12.3. This basic iOS version does not support for SSH. The minimum is 12.4 and later iOS versions can only support for SSH enabling. Okay, repeat. So to enabling SSH, Cisco IOS should be 12.4 and later iOS versions only can support to enabling SSH. Your basic which is 12.123 iOS version does not support for SSH. Okay.
What about other than Cisco routers? Madhu? Sorry.
It's open standard. You can configure in all routers.
Okay, in all router it will support in all the versions, or that is also limited?
This is also different. So they have a different OS now. That is not iOS in different vendors. So this is a configuration for enabling SSH in routers. First you create IP, domain name, and domain name. It can be any name you can use. Crypto key generate RSA. This is algorithm to encrypt the data and login local username and passwords. Transport input enable SSH. Yeah, can say this. Show version is 12.4. So it can support. First, let me create a username. Any username, any password. My example, Cisco CCNA. IP domain name, example, zoom.com. It can use any domain name. Example is zoom.com. Now, crypto key generate RSA. This is algorithm to encrypt the data. So to encrypt the data, it asks the modules, like encryption modules. How many modules have to be encrypted? Yeah. Can you see and read this? The name for the keys will be generated, will be r1zoom.com. Choose the size of the key modules in the range of 360 minimum 362 2048 for your general purpose keys. Choosing a key module greater than 512 may take a few minutes. So how many bits in the modules? By default, supporting to 512. You can choose any module between 362 2046, and by default is supporting 512. So let it be continued. If you want to configure more than that, you can use it. Otherwise, you can continue it actually. Yes. So generating 512-bit RSA keys. So keys is being generated. Now implementation. Line VDY for all logins. For all logins, line VDY. Login local. Transport input. If it's Telnet, then R1 can support only for Telnet, no SSH, no other things. Only Telnet. Means forcefully we are enabling Telnet here actually. Or if we use transport input SSH, then router 1 can support only for SSH, no Telnet. Or if we use all, so it can support for both SSH and Telnet, both can be support. Okay, I'll show you the one practical. Line VTY, login local, transport input. If it's Telnet, that's 1.1. If we check ping communication from reply is okay, communicating is okay. Now let me log into Telnet. It is asking username Cisco, password is CCNA. Yes, we can enable to do Telnet even you have enabled Telnet here actually, right? Now transport input SSH. So I have enabled only SSH. Now if we check Telnet, it's not happening now. Why? Because we have enabled only SSH. Or we'll do one thing. Transport input, if we use all command, then SSH also support and Telnet also support. It's asking username like this. Okay. Either you can use all command or you can use telnet, you can use SSH, or you can use all command. This is the configuration of SSH. Any doubts? Yes, please have any doubts, you can ask me. Yes, please, any doubts? Okay, let's see the next scenario. So there's a major difference between Telnet and SSH. Telnet is not secure remote login protocol because of Telnet will send entire data is in normal clear text, plain text format. SSH supports for encryption format, host to network device. So generally, how can log into router? What are the process we have? What are the methods we have? Host name is router 3. Is already configured. Complete configuration is there in router 3. Like VDY passwords is configured and console password is configured and aux report configured. Complete configuration is done. And fast Ethernet is 1.1. Our IP address is 2.1 is IP address /24. Like how we can log in as a user, how we can log into router? What is the process we have? First method is we can connect console port. Through console port by using PuTTY applications, we can log in. Second method is we can do Telnet or we can do SSH also. Or we can log in with auxiliary port. So 4 methods we have actually. So already route is configured means if you log in with the console, it lost the password. Okay, if you log in with the telnet, it lost the password. Even SSH also has the password. Auxiliary port is also has password. Like all passwords are being configured. Now what if you don't know about passwords? You don't know router passwords, how we can log in? If you don't know means what? You're a hacker? Or it means? If you don't know means of course you're the hacker, right? If you're the network administrator, you should know. What do you say? Yes, please. Yeah. Actually, what type of situations, what type of scenarios do you face this type of issues means? You are the network admin, the network administrator for X company. Means of X location. For example, I'm a network engineer for Amirpet branch. So in Amirpet, I'm the senior network engineer. Okay. So I know all the devices, passwords, credentials, and everything connectivity in Amirpet branch. Because of I'm working here, I'm the boss here actually. So complete the structure information, the documentation available with me. Now what some devices is came from to my branch, I need some devices. I need some switches and some routers, some Cisco routers. And I asked my manager, and manager is telling is that, okay, wait, instead of purchasing a new one, let me check with other branches is available or not. He called to other branch. So their extra router devices is available, access routers is available. Then what he'll do? Okay, send me two, three routers here to Amirpet branch. And the devices came to my office. So who is admin there? Someone is admin in other branch, right? Banjara Hills branch. Like I don't know what passwords is been configured. So already configuration is there than routers. Then how I can work on routers?
How to reset the router or
Yeah,
account.
or we need to make a phone call to network administrator. You know what passwords you configure? Tell me passwords. No, not like that. No. So in this type of situations, we have concept called password recovery. Can recover the password. Okay. Like how I can recover the password is generally for your home routers, we have a reset button. If you long press 30, 40 seconds, and all the passwords have been reset. Default passwords will come. But we don't have option in the Cisco routers like that. So we have some process, some method is there actually. Certain method is there. What is that process is? So to recover the password, first we need to understand. I will get back is all the passwords again. I'll tell you what is the console password and telnet password, everything. So first we have to understand the router boot sequence, boot process. Like how, what is a boot sequencing process? First we should understand that. Then password recovery is simple. So when you switch on the router, for every router, by default, first is post, power on self test. So once post is done, the next process is ROM. Next is it'll go for flash. Next we'll get NVRAM, and we'll have RAM. So this is a boot process for all Cisco routers. This is sequence order. When you power on, when you switch on the router, then first go for post, power on self test. It'll check all the hardware components here, like all hardware components is working or not. Then come to ROM. So what ROM will do? It's it's searching for IOS file. It's a root program will be there now, right? It's searching for IOS file. Where IOS will be present in flashcards, IOS will be stored. So from flash, it's loading the IOS. After that, we need a startup configuration. Like the router want to startup, right? So we require the configuration. Means a console password, Telnet, XSH, like is all auxiliary. All passwords, IP address configurations will be stored in NVRAM. All configurations, example passwords. The passwords and IP address of the device, everything permanently will be stored in where? NVRAM. So once you have entered passwords, then we'll get running configuration, RAM. So this is boot process of every Cisco router, all Cisco routers. But how routers knows about this is the process is a registered value, configuration registered value. If we check with the show version command, the last line configuration register is 0x2102. Configuration register is 0x2102. Based upon this register value, router will understand the proper boot sequence. So 0x2102 is the default configuration register value for all Cisco routers. It can be branch router, it can be network edge router, it can be ISP routers. For every Cisco routers, default configuration register is 0x2102. Whenever there is 0x2102, process is post ROM, flash, NVRAM, and RAM. Okay. Now example router 3. Even router 3 passwords we don't know. We don't know console password, telnet password, SSH, and auxiliary. You try with all the combinations, all possibilities you have tried, but password is not working out. Then what will do? Into password recovery. So how to password recovery means, see what is the default register value for router 3? 0x2102, right? If it's 0x2102, then what is the process? Boot sequencing order? Post, ROM, flash, NVRAM. So whenever NVRAM will come in the picture, your device will ask the passwords. Why? All passwords will be stored in NVRAM. It's asking password, but we don't know password. And what we're going to do is, very simple logic is here. When you switch on post, ROM, flash, these NVRAM will be skip in boot process. Skip NVRAM and go to RAM. If you skip NVRAM in boot process, then device will not ask the passwords. Your router will not ask the passwords. Without passwords, we can get into router user modes. So this is the process of password recovery. Just simple logic is skipping NVRAM in boot sequence, bypassing NVRAM in boot sequence. Like how to skip the NVRAM? To skip NVRAM in boot process, going to be change 0x2142 register value. 0x2142. For proper boot sequencing order, 0x2102. Whenever you want to recall the passwords, to skip NVRAM, change this register value, 0x2102. So 0x2142, 42 is going to skip NVRAM in the boot process. If we skip NVRAM without passwords, we can get into router user modes. This is the concept of password recovery. And the steps. Step 1, connect console cable from router console port to PC COM port. So the first thing is what? Connect console cable from router console port to PC. Means router and PC both should be in the same location. From remotely, we cannot do these things. From local device only, we can do this. Second step, open the emulation software like a putty and restart the router. After open the emulation software, now we need to be restart means power off and power on. Switch off and on it. After restart, within 30 seconds, we need to press Control Break key to enter into Roman mode. Control Break means in your In a keyboard, you have a break key is there, pass break key is there, control and pass break key if you press, and we can get into Roman mode. In Roman mode, we can change register value. So next step I'm writing here. You'll get Roman mode like this. Roman greater than symbol. Config, C-O-N-F-R-E-G. Config space 0x2142. The next line, reset. Two commands. Then we'll skip NVRAM and we'll get in Roman mode. We will have a running configuration. Okay. Let me do practical. This is router 3. We don't know passwords. And after the starting, power off, power on, control pass break key. This is Roman mode. Config 0x2142. Reset. Full commands. Like how we'll get Roman mode? After restarting, press Control break key. Enter. Route is rebooted. Yeah, it is asking what? Continue with configuration dialog. Skip this configuration dialog. Press no. User mode. Without passwords, we got it. User mode. Privilege mode. Yes, please. So we're in the privilege mode now. This is password record. But what about your configurations? So where is your password? To check your passwords, startup configuration command, not the running configuration. If you use show startup-config, they'll have exactly a password. Host name is router 3. Enable password is a Cisco at WebEx. And console password is CCNA at 2021. Aux report password is password at 123321. Cisco password, VDI password is Cisco at 1239. Like exactly we can record the passwords. So, but main thing is, once if we change the router configuration register value. Configuration is there. The plans, everything is there, but thing is, your router, all the ports will come to shutdown state. IP address is there actually. It just will go for what shutdown state, going to be active with no shutdown on all interfaces. That we need to do. Okay. Like you can connect router to PC and you can do the steps, the process, boot sequence, post for on self test, check the hardware, ROM loads bootstrap program and searches for the iOS file. iOS from flash is loaded. See, NVRAM is been skipped. Boot process completed bypassing startup configuration. So what is the register value required to bypass this? 0x142. Okay. So these are steps. Config 0x142 and reset. After recover the passwords, we need to back to your default configuration register value now. So this is the configuration. In global configuration mode, config register 0x142. Back to default register value. Revert it back. It's clear.
Balu, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
So with this Roman in the step, if you change that config register value, then is it allowed to change the config as well? Like if you can go to config T and you can do some config change.
Yes, we can change it.
So what is the use? Like if anybody comes and if they messed up the whole config?
Yeah, actually, that is why the first thing is, what is the first point is connect the console cable from router console port to PC component. If someone has a console port access, then only they can do now.
Yeah, if
Already
like
your router is secured with the physically the closed rack and with so physical secure also mandatory there actually.
yeah, but if some like any network admin will go, they don't know about the config, but by mistakenly if they messed up, then entire like the traffic will messed up, right? So what is the condition? Like what is the circumstances in that case?
No. Configuration is not erased here. You just bypass the NVRAM. Configuration is there. We are not erased the configuration.
Now, if that guy erased it,
Yeah, that is why. So thing is, a physical security is a mandatory. And point number 2, the people who has console port access, then only we can do it.
okay.
So this is the only point. And one more point is, after a restart, what we have entered control fast break. We'll get Roman mode, right?
Yeah.
So here, if we change the configuration and register value, then we'll get a router user mode and we'll get a configuration, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even for configuration Roman mode, also we can set the passwords.
Okay.
So the primary point is physical should be secured. So we don't allow the other persons to access the router. If
Yeah,
as you
that
said,
is
like a network administrator also is doing that, then a Roman mode password also is there actually.
okay.
Right. I'll see how to take a backup files from Cisco router. Configuration backup, configuration and I will use backup file. So what are the files we have to take the backup? IOS means where IOS file present in flash. In flash card, IOS will be present. Next, configuration. So which configuration do you require? Running config or startup config? Startup configuration. So these both files, let me take a backup. What do you mean by backup? We're just taking the copy of original. So original files is there in flash card and startup configuration. So that original we are taking a just copy to our external server. I mean your PC. We used to store here actually. Why? If original is being failed, we can restore it immediately. It can be flash or it can be startup config. We can restore it. So how to take the backup means the first thing is in your PC, we have to install some software, some application called TFTP. This is TFTP D64. This one will be installed first. From Google, you can download it. It's a free app. So here we have the services is what? TFTP server, TFTP client, a DHCP server, no syslog server. So here we'll get all the log messages, log viewer, some services. What we require now, TFTP server. Okay. The files where have to be stored. Whatever taking the backup file. So this iOS file has to be stored in your PC. What is a directory? That we can define the directory actually. Like current directory is the C program files and TFTP D64. But we can create the folder. There we can define the current directory. Okay. So this is for real time, I mean real routers. The packet tracer, I'll show you now. The packet tracer. Instead of PC, I'm using a server. Let me assign server IP address, TFTP. Already we have some files is there. Let me remove it. Otherwise we'll be confused. So we don't have any files now. Server IP 192.168.1.10, 1.123. Yeah. I'll log into routers. So what is the command we use is very simple command from router privilege mode. Can use copy source to destination. Source means what? From where we are taking the file, that is a source. Where it's going to store, that is a destination. If you're taking a configuration backup, so startup config is a source. Where the file is going to store in TFTP. TFTP is a destination. So what is the TFTP IP address now? 1.123. Router IP is 1.1. Right? So copy in privilege mode. Startup -config space TFTP. Enter. Address or name of the remote host. Means TFTP server IP is asking. As a TFTP server IP 1.123. Destination file name means which file name it has to be saved. We can configure any name, you can use any name actually. If you don't define any name, by default is going to store as R1 config. So let it be continue, enter. It's done. Configuration is done. Now if you check in server, services TFTP, yeah, let's see, R1 config file is there. Like we can take a configuration backup. Now iOS backup file. See how to take iOS backup file. Show flash. First you can use show flash command. Then you will get flash information and there find out iOS file name is enter the flash information. So how we can get iOS file name? Extensions is important. By seeing the extension, we can come to know what is the file name. If it's text file, .txt, images, .jpg. So iOS files are .bin files. It's .bin. So file name is completely C2800NM. Copy it. Now you can use the command copy. What is the source now? Flash. Destination TFTP. Enter. What is asking the question? Source file name means iOS file name. Whatever you have copied before, you just paste here. Don't type. Do copy and paste is the best. Enter. Now name of the host. I mean address of the host. 192.168.1.123. Destination file name. The same file name. Let it be continue. Don't change here anything. Just press enter. That's it. Yeah. is completed. iOS backup is done. In server TFTP, you'll have configuration backup, iOS backup. 2 files is there in my server. Okay. Like we can take iOS backup file and configuration backup file. Then how can restore it? The same commands, copy TFTP flash, reverse. The source is TFTP, destination is flash. Or copy TFTP startup hyphen config. Like we can do restore. Or we have the USBs available in the routers. Through USBs, we can do that. If USB ports is not available in the routers, then you have to do these things. The latest routers, every device will get USB ports. So directly you can connect a USB drive and you can dump it. Anyhow, there are so many methods is there to restore. So one of the method is the basic method is this one, where USB ports are not available for the routers. It's clear?
Balu, how to check this backup taken date or the details? Can you see?
Yeah. In TFTP server, we have the files is there.
Yeah, FTP files is available, Balu, but my question is that when this backup, for example, 1 month backup or 2 month backup, I need
Yes,
to
it
know
will
the
be
date.
stored permanently in your TFTP server. We can open that configuration file
Okay.
in Notepad and Notepad. We can open that. More dots.
Hello, I have a question. Sorry, I
Yep.
missed the past this. So you said we cannot connect a console port remotely, right?
Yeah.
But we used to connect console port remotely in my office.
Yes. Like how we can connect it is dial-up modem through internet.
I don't know about the backend, but like we used to have the console port ID, like IP address, and we used to do directly like SSH. Here everything is like naming services, so we used to directly SSH and the console name. Then we used to connect that, and after that we used to reset, and sometimes we rebuild the device remotely.
Yeah. So the
But I
first
don't
thing
know
is
like how it is
that
possible.
locally that user should be there, some network administrator in that location, in the customer location. One person will be there actually to supporting to on and off. Physically the power should be off and on, right? Restart the router to passwords recovery
Mm-hmm.
purpose. So how we can do that from remotely?
Oh, we never do like power off, power on, but like sometimes we do, but sometimes like some L1 guys are there to do that stuff. But
Hmm.
we used to log into console port, that's for sure.
Yeah, we can see
without
we
any
can remotely we can
anyone's
connect.
help.
I'm not saying remotely we cannot log in. We can connect. In the back end, the connectivity is your console port is connected to your dial-up modem to Exchange, and Exchange to your through internet your office, and you have a console port IDs, and you are connecting to that particular ID.
Yeah.
So one the logic point is what? How you can connect to console port from remotely is through internet.
Okay.
It can be laser line, it can be whatever. Access should be through service provider only, na?
Yeah.
Yes. So through service provider you have connected. Is we can connect. We can't say we cannot connect. We can connect, but the someone L1 engineer should be there in the physically locally to do some activities for passport recovery, these things actually. So once the basic
Okay.
configuration is done, then further configuration we can do from remotely through
Okay.
console port or through auxiliary port or through Telnet, through SSH, whatever. The basic configuration is done by local L1 engineer, then we can do it. That is the job of L1 team. What they're doing is, so for customer location, they used to go for customer client location, and they used to dump the plans, whatever is designed and configured by network admins, senior admins. They'll give on some files. We call it as NIP, network interface plans. That plan is going to dump on the new routers. Then route will be
Mm-hmm.
active state. Links and IP address will be active. Then
Yeah.
remaining configuration, further configuration, you people will be do for remotely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, first we used to give the config file and they used to like load in the routers, and after that
Yes.
we rebuild the device, and
Yes.
after
Yes.
that we used to like change the route maps and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What doubts? All right, and this is all about for today.